long run, but it's getting to a moment where we really going to kick it up. It's the Joomla volunteer portal. Um, we all got involved at some point in a Joomla project, and for me, it was when we go back to my town where I live. That's Amsterdam. I live in Weesp, a nice small city alongside a river, and um, I rode there over this water as well, over the Vecht, it's called. Um, and we practice each week. And in the end of the season, we have a rowing match around Pampus, which is not too far from my home. But there's a race where we go 3 times a weekend around Pampus. And Pampus has been built in the year 1300 and was mainly there. And nowadays it looks like this, a small island, nothing special. But it was used a long time ago for when or sail ships that sailed over the entire world get back to Amsterdam, but had to wait before they can go into Amsterdam to get their goods out of board. But at that time there was a kind of issue because the people were getting back home but had to wait for a couple of days, and during those days they get annoyed, bored, so they start to drink. And before they even get back home, they spend all their money they earned by traveling all around the world before they arrived in Amsterdam. So the issue was that more and more families said you won't go sailing the entire world because you get home with nothing. So you can better be here and work on the farm rather than go out. So they thought, what can we do around that? So they made sure that all boats have to be there before going to Amsterdam, and then they brought in beers and women. And that was all paid by the companies. And there's where a saying comes from that's called voor pampus, liggen, laying. So it means totally wasted, totally drunk, because the people in 2 days were totally drunk because all beers were free and things like that. And then they sent the boat over to Amsterdam. And because they were already drunk, they go directly back home rather than spending the money in Amsterdam. So that's also the name of my rowing team. I'm rowing since 2002 in wooden boats, and our rowing race is around that small island each end of the year. And about 140 boats join this race, and it looks pretty cool. And sometimes it can be windy with some high waves. Sometimes really easy, but anyway, after such practice, we like to drink a beer. We deserve it, we think. But yeah, someone has to pay it, and sometimes that person paid, the other time the other. So we had to have that in a sheet, and this is already a very old one. So we record everybody what was drinking. At the time, I was playing around a bit. I was still in the secondary school, but thought I'm getting a big bit of bored because I created this sheet but send it out by email all the time. So hey, you have to pay something in our general bill. So I thought, let's create a website on it. So I did. And it was a really simple website, which started with only that, but later on we added some pictures. And yes, it was built with front page. You started with it as well? Who didn't in the end? You.
I didn't. I started with Paradox Database.
Yeah. So that brings me directly to the next point, database. How does that work? At this time, it was just a front page website. And you remember the ones that being on the websites with front pages. How do you really update those links dynamically when you add a new page? So there is still a large website in the Netherlands called Nu.nl, news website. But I was like, I can't imagine that each time they put a new news article on that website, they have to really go to all those pages and update the HTML. So I started looking into it because I didn't have any clue what the name of that is. So I found out there was something that's called like Qt News. And Qt News was a kind of system where you can really dynamically build your website, but still without any database. And that was really useful because I hosted the website on some kind of free Lycos web hosting account. It doesn't even exist anymore. But after that, I had my first kind of content management system website. But still, keep exploring it, and then I came across Mambo during the summer of 2005, and that was really interesting. So I started building my website, and just when I finished my website, Mambo was forked. Thanks, Mr. Thiemann. So I had to create my website in Joomla or migrate it. But at that time, I was just very happy that I just finished my first website. So it was a kind of complicated thing. But in the end, I managed. So this was my first ever Joomla website. And it was pure for the hobby. But what I discovered when building this website, that there was an entire community around that piece of software, which was really helpful. And almost any question I had was already asked before and answered. And if I had a new question, a lot of people jumped in directly to help me in finding the answers. So I really like that idea that a group of people are involved in helping out each other and building software, project, community around it. And I ended up to get more and more involved with the local community in the Netherlands. So we started back in 2008 a new local community. We kind of forked our local one at that time, kind of Mambo Joomla, but then locally. And also got involved with organizing the Joomla days. It's really dark in here. It was not really. So in 2008, I joined my first ever Joomla day, and I really liked it. So I think a month after that, I went to my first Joomla day outside the Netherlands. It was the one in UK, and he was not there.
I was in Denmark.
Denmark? No, not this one. It's already longer time.
I was just
Maidstone. So there was a bunch of people standing in front of the room, and those were the core development team. They were developing, you probably see it in my screen better, but Ryan Ozimek, Chris Davenport, yeah. Alex Campus, Wilco Jansen, Arno Zelstra, Louis Landry, Hannes Papenberg, they were all there. So it was for me like, wow, this is really cool, like all around the world people working with it and trying to make Joomla better and developing the software, but also the community. So that really motivated me to continue with that. And wow, this beer is really... meanwhile, we started Joomla user groups in the Netherlands as well. And Anja also organized the one in Rotterdam. And we have meanwhile 14 of them. And most of them meet each month. But we have a great group of people there motivating each other to continue with doing a lot of things. So we organize parties around the celebration of Joomla 1.6 release. And that slowly we have a lot of people that are doing their own thing. So let's see if we can create a foundation in the Netherlands to support both the Joomla Day and the local community. So started that as well. And because of all the things going on, I slowly got involved with the international community as well. So back in 2011, I was asked to join the community leadership team as well. And the Joomla project has a kind of unique structure at the moment. Like in my rowing boat, we have 8 people that are really rowing. But the one that's deciding which direction we're heading is a steersman. But basically in a Joomla project, we don't have that person. We all only have the people rowing. So we have a group of people, and this is from JM Beyond a couple months ago, with the entire leadership team. But that consists out of 3 different teams. The first team is Open Source Matters, which is taking care of the trademark, the financial part of the project. So they're mainly the foundational part behind it. And then we have the production leadership team. And I guess one guy is missing, which is sitting over here. You were not there? No. So this is the production leader team. Sorry? Yeah. So Michael should be here, or in the middle then. No, so this is the production leadership team, and the production leadership team is taking care mainly about the development of the Joomla itself. So the code, but also about, for example, the issue directory, reporting the bugs, the documentation. So more the software part of the project. And then we have the community leadership team, and I'm part of that as well. And the community leadership team is taking part of basically everything else. So the Joomla forums, the user groups, the extensions directory, a lot of the subsites we have in the Joomla project. So that's where the Joomla community leadership is responsible for. But the community is a big group of people. And it was the first Joomla World Conference in San Jose, the US. And that was really a great experience. We already had Jane Beyond, but at the other side of the ocean, a lot of other people were also working on it, so it was great to meet them as well. And a lot of people are really willing to help. So I know you have volunteered for Joomla as well. We talked yesterday about your project, which you're going to do a presentation, right? Yeah. So we're all experienced with volunteering for Joomla. But a lot of people, when I started as well, I tried to find my own way. But a lot of people think they don't really know where to start or how can you help. And we have a lot of different communication channels. We have Skype chats, we have mailing lists, we have forums, we have email, we have nowadays Slack, you can continue with it. A lot of different communication ways, but most of them are not really that open. So you don't really know what's going on with all different teams and if you're maybe interested to help out. So this is one of the bigger Skype chats. All involved people are jumping in, but you have to be in that Skype chat to know what's going on there. And it's an old screenshot. So sorry.
Okay.
You said?
Yes, you have to still be involved in Joomla.
Yeah. Yeah. Before you know where, you have to be invited to the Skype chat, so it's really not that open. But on the other hand, I think we have a lot of people that are willing to help, and we don't really have a good overview of who's doing what area needs support, things like that. So it's really hard to get an overview of the status of things. So how's the progress? What are the deadlines? Do we need to support? And we also say, like, we're really open, but are we really open when we communicate via Skype? I don't think so. So we're helping, saying we need help and you can help as well. But do we really have clear signs or guidelines how people can join and really help? And it's also good to know who are our volunteers. I mean, it was great to talk with you yesterday to hear about your project, but it's because I'm here, I know that you're doing that. But it would be great if there are other ways as well to know what people are working on or maybe need help with or how the project can support them. And that's really hard now. So also, who do we need to contact locally? So if we want to organize something, who can we reach out? We don't have a good overview of the people around the world. But mainly, and that's one of the most important things I think, is to be able to say thank you to the people that are volunteering to the project. And we don't say that enough. We should do that much more often. And it's just a very two words in English, but even in other language, just one word, but it should be said much more often. So what happens? People are frustrated. They can't get things done. They don't feel acknowledged for their contribution to the project, and they leave. And when they leave, they take their knowledge with them. So sometimes there is some documentation about what people have been working on, what are the things, the status of things, but most of the times when people move, the knowledge moves as well. So new people joining in have to do it all over again because we're missing that. So here's the idea. We are going to create a Joomla volunteer portal. And that volunteer portal will have several parts. So one of them is a volunteer profile. And you sign up as a volunteer. And it shouldn't be too complicated, but you can add like your skills, your experience. You can see on what working groups you're actively involved with. You can earn some badges or whatever things that say thank you for what you've been doing. We can have an overview of both what you're doing internationally, but also locally in local communities. We can have your contact details so we know how we reach out to people in the community. And then we have the working groups, so the teams that are working on specific areas. So we have a lot of teams like the marketing team. I will just show in a second, but those teams, that will be a place where people can discuss or at least find the meeting notes of meetings that have been taking place. What action points needs to be worked on? So we have to do this and this. Who's going to do that? Before what date? So we can track about the process. And by allowing this, by seeing which working groups are there, we maybe, when you're browsing the site, oh, that's something that has my interest. I know something about it. I have experience in it. I can share this with the community because I know that. And of course, another important aspect is having documentation in there as well. So everybody that's working in a certain working group knows what are the processes, what can be done, what are the rules around it. So, for example, we have the Joomla marketing group. We have the social media team. We can have a group around Joomla Day organization, so people can share their knowledge and experience in organizing Joomla Day. We have the Joomla Research Directory team. We have a group of people that are interested in getting women involved in Joomla. So we create a place where people can start working on ideas to make it happen. So when we have that in one place, we have a kind of volunteer dashboard where you can see yourself a stream of the activity of the groups you're involved with. So you don't have to check all those channels, but it can be on one place. So you can see a kind of overview of what's coming up. You can see what deadlines you signed up for and what are the actual dates that the deadline is set to. There can be a kind of button like, what can I help with? And you get suggestions from the site because it knows what tasks are available, so where you can help. Getting started page, that's really interesting. So people are going to the volunteer portal. How do I get started with helping out in a project? So that can be like the game rules we have in a community, like how do you respect each other and how do you communicate in a clear way? And that's really a step-by-step, really taking people by the hand and then getting them involved in the community. And of course, there's some general community activity overview, like who's been working on what, who earned a new badge, for example, and we can highlight a volunteer of the month. We can have like leaderboards. I know Brian Tiemann really likes those things. That makes it. Sorry?
He's writing a new one.
A new one, okay. Yeah, the old one is disabled now. But for some people, it really motivates when they see, okay, I'm number 4 on a certain list of contributions I made. I want to get to the number 1 position. So all those kind of things that can motivate people, we can work on. But it also provides us community insights, so mainly about who's doing what and what needs to be helped. So the main goal of the volunteer portal is to match the task with the volunteers. So we have one big bunch of tasks that needs to be done, and it can be a very, very small one. We need to get a text translated, or we need a small graphic design. And on the other hand, we have a lot of volunteers. But right now, the volunteers don't know which tasks are available, and we don't know which volunteers can work on a task. So let's match them. It should be easier and more fun to volunteer. Less frustration, more fun, more acknowledgement. Provide insights in the works that are being done. Which group are working on what? So you also know what other groups are working on. So maybe it tied in something your team is working on. So make sure you get in line with that team, and don't duplicate the efforts in that. And of course, increase the number of volunteers and also the productivity of the volunteers that are involved. And above all, recognize the ones that are really doing a lot for our project. So how can that look like? For example, the contribute page. You set your available time. So I have 5 or 15 minutes, or I have an hour. My skills are like the graphic designer. And then you show the suggestions that needs to be done.
Available time for what?
For doing that task.
No, per day, per week?
Yeah, of course. This is just a lot of things needs to be discussed around it, but it's just to give an impression, like the website is providing you suggestions, what you can do when you say, I have time right now, I have now an hour, what can I do? And it can be really task in a system, but if you say, for example, like 10 minutes and there are no suggestions for that, we can provide some general suggestions. Go to the forum, answer a forum post. Go to the issue tracker, make sure you test the bug, because this one needs to test it. So really providing that directly into one place. And the other area is, of course, groups. So an overview of all the working groups we have in our community. And again, this is just an example, but to give an impression. And then when you open a group, you see the task and the status of that, or the discussions, or the files, or the documentation. You can find it at one place, so you can link people to one place where they find all information. And of course, see who are the members involved, and what are the team leader who's responsible for it in the end, and how can I reach out to that person?
A lot of John Doe in there.
Sorry?
Yeah, a lot of John Doe.
Yeah, it's amazing how many John Does we have in the project. So, and you're of course your own volunteer profile for any volunteer, where you can see an overview of the tasks you signed up for, your achievements, or maybe you can share a bit of your Joomla story, so people get to know you a bit, know your background. It's always fun to read about other Joomla stories. So we have to build this, and we have to build this together with the community. And we're going to start pretty soon with this. And we have an amazing project where, and this time is real, we have an amazing project with so many people all around the world, and that's really unique of Joomla. Anywhere you go, there are people and they're willing to help. And of course, we have some struggles with language barriers or cultural differences, but I think we can do with teamwork, we can achieve amazing things with the project. So we need people for that. We need to make it happen, and we need you for that. And we need all kind of people to make this happen. And it can be, is it showing up? Yeah. Translation or marketing expert or a front-end developer, a back-end developer. We want to build this in Joomla and put it on GitHub so people can really, I want to make this portal better, go fix it, do a pull request. So if you're interested in helping out, please let me know directly, send me an email, send me a tweet, and together we're going to make it happen. Thank you for being a Joomla volunteer. So, any questions?